Today on the podcast, I want to cover a really interesting story. I kind of talked about this a little while ago, but essentially Adobe had its big AI Max conference and they dropped a whole bunch of exciting updates on their generative AI image creation tool, which is Firefly. So today on the podcast, we're talking about a bunch of big updates that they have made. They're able to do vectors, they're able to do, really high def images, very similar to Midjourney. We're going to talk about where this leads if we think that they're going to become the lead player because of a lot of things that they have promised users, protection from lawsuits and other areas that, Midjourney is not doing. So we're going to dive into all of this on the podcast and talk about all the new features that were officially announced at this Max conference. And let's get into it. Welcome to the world's #1 AI podcast, AI Chat. I'm your host, Jaden Schaefer. Make sure that you go to aibox.ai, link in the show notes, to join the waitlist for our new AI platform. We're going to be launching an incredible platform that allows you to build anything you want with workflows in AI. So you're able to chain together ChatGPT and image generators and audio generators to make really powerful apps for your organization, or you can host them on our marketplace and actually generate royalties from them. So make sure to go to aibox.ai and join the waitlist. In addition, if you like the podcast, if you could do me a massive favor and please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcast. This helps me be able to get better guests on here as they check the reviews to see how you guys are liking it. So if you could please do that, I would really, really appreciate it. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? I record and publish podcasts on a platform called Spotify for Podcasters, and I absolutely love it. Essentially, you can upload from your phone or computer, and it distributes to every platform that plays podcasts. They support video podcasts, and you can make money on the platform with ads or even podcast subscriptions, something that has made my life so much easier as a podcaster. So if you're interested, I highly recommend you give it a try. You can download the Spotify for Podcast app or go to spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your podcast today. Adobe, during its Max conference, dropped an exciting update to its generative AI image creation tool, which is called Firefly. So this revamped version, termed as Firefly Image 2 model, is now even more adaptive at bringing to life like human figures. So kind of focusing on intricate details like facial structure, skin, and hands. These features have traditionally posed challenges for AI-driven models. Of course, we've seen, people like Midjourney and DALL-E. I mean, I think DALL-E might even still struggle. It's probably a little bit better, but like hands have notoriously been bad where, when you generated an AI image, there was like 6 or 7 fingers on the hand. There's just like a weird finger poking out all over the place. So, it's definitely been something that's been a bit of a challenge, and it appears that Adobe has finally kind of figured out the solution. And to be honest, Midjourney has had this for a while, so they definitely get kudos as being the first player in this space. It's kind of funny because I know a lot of different artists that would use this for all sorts of different projects, and every time they would generate a person, they literally would have to go into Photoshop or some other image editor and remove extra fingers or extra random kind of things and make everything seem, work good. So in any case, I'm sure all of them are giving a sigh of relief and excited that Adobe has this fixed. So in a statement to, I think, its increasing popularity, Adobe shared that users have created up to 3 billion, that's with a B, images using Firefly since its inception just 6 months ago. So breaking this down further, 1 billion of those images were created just last month, which is really crazy. I think, interestingly, 90% of these users were previously, unacquainted with Adobe's suite of products, meaning most of the people creating these images were not like, they didn't have Photoshop, they didn't have Premiere, they weren't people that are used to using all the Adobe products. So I think this is definitely awesome because this shows Adobe that they're able to get new users with this kind of, with these new tools. They're able to really target a whole new audience, which was not paying them before. I think this surge in usage led Adobe to transition what began as simply, Firefly demo site into like a full-blown member of the Creator Cloud family, which of course is Adobe's, grouping of software that they have. So Alexandru Kostin, who is kind of the mastermind behind Adobe's generative AI and Sensei division, essentially kind of talked a little bit about this and talked about the enormous advancements powering the new Firefly. So he mentioned that not only was the model schooled using, essentially the model was trained using the latest images from Adobe stock and other commercial sources, but it's also grown in size almost 3x. So he said, quote, think of it as a brain that's 3 times larger, rendering more beautiful pixels, enhancing details for the user, end quote. So Costin kind of talked about this, and Adobe has also kind of doubled the data set, providing the model with an even richer understanding of users' demands. So though this expanded model requires more resources, Adobe promises the same speed as the previous version, which I think is impressive. And Costin emphasizes that while they're investing in optimization techniques, the focus remains on the quality of the output. So, if they were like, what are we gonna prioritize? They're not gonna prioritize it doing it fast. They're gonna prioritize it doing it well and making sure the outputs are really high quality, which I think at this point is definitely important. No one's doing this incredibly fast. Even Midjourney has a bit of a wait time, but I think whoever can do it the best, like users, if they're actually going to use a picture, because I know a lot of people that are using these for like graphics. I mean, I've seen people like go on Midjourney and make coloring book pages and use it for actual books they're making, or, graphics for a children's novel, like all sorts of things that I've seen people use this for. And I don't think anyone in that case cares if it takes, 1 minute instead of 30 seconds or 2 minutes instead of 1 minute. When you're comparing this to, what would traditionally take an artist like a week to draw some of these pictures. So I think, the order of magnitude and the speed is just insane, how much faster this is able to generate images. And I think people definitely would prefer Adobe focus on the quality. So users can currently access the model via the Firefly web app, but there's also plans in place to integrate it into, Photoshop and all the other Adobe cloud products. So Costin kind of emphasized Adobe's vision for generative AI, saying, quote, our customers often enhance existing assets using generative capabilities. It's more generative editing than just text to image. So I think that, the Firefly web app is also rolling out a bunch of new features, and users can now adjust the kind of depth of field, incorporate motion blur, and also tweak field of view settings, which is really interesting. One intriguing feature is Firefly's ability to mimic the style of an uploaded image. So, you can, if you're a photographer and you have kind of a specific style, you can upload a bunch of images that you've taken and have it kind of mimic that. So in addition, I think Adobe has also added an autocomplete feature for image prompts designed to kind of streamline the image creation process. So if you're, creating an image, it's going to autocomplete the prompt, giving you ideas on how to actually make your prompt better and, generate what you're trying to go for. So diving a little bit deeper into Adobe's innovation pool, Illustrator, which is of course the vector graphics tool, is now jumping into the generative AI landscape. And they announced at the Max conference that the Firefly vector model is essentially pioneering the creation of vector graphics using AI. So this model can create entire vector graphics from scratch, and it was trained using data from Adobe stock, meaning they own the licenses to all of the content that it was trained on. And if you, create vectors from this, you're not going to get sued, which is incredibly, awesome for a lot of enterprise customers, that they're not getting that kind of protection from something like, say, Midjourney. So this whole upcoming beta version of Illustrator will essentially empower users to create complete scenes using just a text prompt. And Costin elaborated on this milestone saying, quote, the journey of training Firefly using millions of vector images was challenging but rewarding. Our aim was to produce images with minimal points. So Illustrator is often, is also kind of unveiling a feature termed as mockup, and this is going to allow users to superimpose vector art onto 3D scenes. And, that could be like a design for a can or a logo on, apparel, for example. Costin said, quote, mockup offers a dynamic way to present designs in real-world context, right? So if you've ever wanted to put your design on the cover of a fake book or put your design on, essentially any 3D object, this is going to be an awesome way to do that. So, kind of rounding off the list of new features is a new one called Retype. This tool converts static text in images into editable text and even identifies matching fonts. And this is something that I absolutely love. In addition, Illustrator is now web compatible, so you're not just going to have to download the app and use it on your computer. This is another thing I've been calling for a long time. It seems very archaic. Feels like companies like Canva are really, really beating all the Adobe suites when it comes to like just being able to edit something in your browser. Figma obviously was really big in this regard, and I think that's why, Adobe had to buy it because Adobe XD just wasn't keeping up. I think this kind of suite of innovations signifies Adobe's commitment to really pushing the boundaries of what's possible in the realm of image creation, editing, this entire creative field. And I think it's making it really exciting to be in this whole space of creatives and all that kind of stuff. So very excited for all these new features, and I'll keep you posted on how they work as I test them in the future.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. That's the sound of switching your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling. Harness the best converting checkout and same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Stop leaving sales on the table. Discover why millions trust Shopify to build, grow, and run their business. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech23.
Thank you for listening to the AI Chat Podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, I'd appreciate it if you rate me wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you're looking for an innovative group of AI enthusiasts, make sure you check out our Discord channel and also our Facebook community. It's obviously a lot more interactive than a podcast, where we can actually share software tools, prompts that we're using in everyday AI. I'll leave a link for those in the description below.